Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for a very warm welcome. Thank you for inviting us to this very exceptional conference. Actually, I'm only warming up the real key speech, which will come definitely from Martin Röber, European Director from INEK-PEO. This is a little warm-up because I'm not sure that everybody knows about what INEK-PEO is dealing with, what is INEK-PEO or organization. And I would like to introduce you some essential points on what are the important issues at European level concerning access to education. So, as you see, I'm Agnes Roman. I'm an Education Policy Coordinator of INEK-PEO. INEK-PEO is the abbreviation of an organization, a European level umbrella organization, the European Trade Union Committee for Education. And we are based in Brussels. And we are the European region of Education International. Education International is an organization, a global organization of all kinds of teacher unions all over the world. So they represent the African teachers, Asian teachers, and we are the European region. So we are representing teacher trade unions of all European countries. We cover not only the EU, but the whole European region. It means that our member organizations, the 135 member organizations, they have around 11 million teacher members from every kind of sectors: early childhood education, vocational education, or higher education. Your organizations are dealing with social dialogue at national level. We do the same, but at European level, because the European unions also have a certain small competence on dealing with education. In a way that they bring together the ministers for education from the EU countries, and they discuss about challenges, and they try to find solutions together. The European Union obviously do not have a competence on education and training. They have a very minimum one only on vocational education, and they can bring together the ministries and to have to find together solutions. This is why we are sitting in the meetings of these ministers, because we can provide you the latest information on provisional reforms in your country. Because in all of these meetings, they are thinking about how to solve challenges in education and training in different sectors, but also at European level. And of course, these discussions usually lead to national reforms. We have different managerial meetings. INEK-PEO committee is bringing together one member from each country, so one person from the teacher trade unions from each country come together. Usually they are presidents or general secretaries of unions, and they are discussing about the managerial issues of this organization, but also they provide us guidelines, political guidelines. We have two other standing committees. One of them is dealing with higher education and research. The committee and the two standing committees, they meet once per semester. The Higher Education Standing Committee also brings together around 45 members. They are the unions whose membership is coming from universities, research centers. And the Equality Committee is a committee of different organizations who would like to discuss and focus on access issues, gender equality issues. We have also an advisory panel, which also meets once per semester. We ask them, this is a very limited number of panels, only with experts at European level on different education sectors, and we are asking them about their opinion, how to move forward. Furthermore, we have several projects, how to use ICT, how to improve ICT skills of teachers, or how to use ICT more in the schools. We have projects with the employer organization of recruitment of teachers, but we also deal with health and safety in schools, avoiding violence, bullying at schools towards the students and also towards the teachers. So we have several projects which brings together our member organizations and try to find solutions on these problems. Recently, every kind of European level discussions, they are deriving from the issue of youth unemployment rate. As you can see in this graph, in between 2000 and 2015, this was the movement, the change of the youth unemployment rate of students, of young people between age of 15 and 24. You can see a huge fallen in 2007-2008 when the crisis came, and there were some. They say that the youth unemployment rate is actually so. The youth unemployment rate was the smallest in 2007, and immediately as a result of the crisis, it rocketed. And now we are in 2014-15. They show a kind of slowdown, but it's not at all the same situation. Many times, as you know, countries provide statistics which are kind of cosmetic statistics. So the youth unemployment rate is very high. This is a Eurostat data. Eurostat is the statistical office of the EU, and they all the time look for data, but most of the times they get the information from the national ministries, and as I said, many times they are not really trustworthy. According to the data of December 2014, there are 24 million men and women in the EU who are unemployed, and almost 5 million young persons under 25 who are unemployed. Actually, I listened 3 days ago, in Riga in a ministerial meeting, Madam Thyssen, who is the Commissioner for Employment, and she said, already this 5 million is 7 million. So we are facing more and more problems. And the lowest rates we can see on the youth unemployment rate is in Germany, Austria, and in the Netherlands. And the highest are in Spain, Greece, Russia, and Italy. You can see in Greece, for example, and in Spain, almost half of the youth population are unemployed. And in December, actually, I don't know what is the truth, because in December 2013, Greece reported to the Eurostat that the unemployment rate was almost 60%. And I really doubt that they could improve the situation by 10%. You can see. At European level, when we are discussing about how to solve the issue of youth unemployment rate, obviously, from trade union side, we see that the lowest rate in Germany, Austria, and in the Netherlands is deriving from the very good social dialogue. The European level discussions always focus on the very good vocational education system. If there is a good vocational education system, they say, then it directly leads to employment. If it is true if there is a quality education in it. If there is no quality education, it will not lead to employment, and I will go back to that. And they say that the best vocational education systems exist in Germany, Austria, and in the Netherlands, and this is why the low unemployment rate maybe has a good linkage with the vocational education system. Obviously, from trade union side, we say this is a good system, and there is a good low unemployment rate because there is an effective, long, historical social dialogue established in these countries. But let's see what are generally the problems recently, also from our perspective concerning the access to education. As I mentioned, we are focusing on the European Union education and training policies, which should be very light policies, but there are more and more attempts to get more competence at European level on national education policies. I listed here some sectors. Early childhood education, kindergarten, crashes, and in the general education, the main problem concerning access is equality and equal pay for teachers. In early childhood education, most of the teachers are women. Sometimes 80% is the average in the EU, but in most of the countries it's more than 90–95%. The problem is that if in many of the EU countries there is a general trend that as low sector the teacher is teaching, as low salary she or he gets. So basically, this is very bad for the female teachers, because most of the female teachers you can find in early childhood education and general education, and most of the male teachers in higher and secondary education. And it also shows a different pay level. And in early childhood education, the European Union set up a target of having 95% of the children all in early childhood education, to have for everyone an access. But the very important issue which they did not set is that it should be free, and we say it should be free for all. The tuition fee, however, is increasing, and there are more and more private early childhood education centers which are open, for example in Poland. Concerning vocational education and training and apprenticeship, as I mentioned, because of the youth unemployment rate, the most focus of the EU discussions is on this sector. They try to find a solution. They think many times that only to improve the sector of vocational education and improve apprenticeship for the young students to have practical training in companies would solve the unemployment rate. However, the companies also cut on their budgets, they also cut on their trainings, and they cut the workers. So we are very afraid that the improving apprenticeship, the improving focus on apprenticeship will cause a kind of change at the companies, so the apprentices will be exploited as cheap labor. At the same time, we also support the apprenticeship. 3 days ago, as I mentioned, there was a ministerial conference in Riga. We signed plenty of teacher unions, for example, from Czech Republic, Finland, two unions from Portugal. We signed a commitment that we would help the union to improve apprenticeship, but from a different perspective, from the teacher's perspective. Because when we talk about vocational education and when we talk about apprenticeship in companies, we never talk about the teachers. What is the role of the teachers? What is the problem, why there is a problem that there is a vocational school and there are lots of old technical equipments, for example in the car mechanic schools, and then the students should go to Mercedes or BMW to really see how to fix a Pippin car, and they cannot because they have never seen that same equipment in the school. And the problem is that the teachers have never seen those equipment. So the professional training for the teachers, in order to improve the apprenticeship for the students in companies, should also take place in companies. There should be much flexibility between the schools and companies to have more open access for the teachers on professional training. So this is what many of the trade unions sought to highlight concerning the policy of the EU on apprenticeship. But this very huge focus on vocational education and training has a little less, a very bad influence recently on academic studies, secondary education and higher education. If there is an increasing access on vocational education, and we can see a lot of reforms in the EU countries on vocational education, it also decreases the focus on secondary education. For example, there are huge messages, interesting mottos the EU ministers are talking. 3 days ago, we strongly criticized Marian Thyssen, the European Commissioner for Employment, to give the message to the ministers for education, saying that vocational education leads to employment. It is not true in every country. However, the ministers receive this motto and they go home and they immediately start to do some reforms, many times without the consultation with teacher unions or other unions. And then they see that the reforms fail. One example, Hungary. They went home, they said, okay, vocational education, everyone should go to vocational education. So now they are changing a lot of gymnasium, lycée, to be vocational centers. It will influence 20,000 secondary school students, but this change cannot go from one day to another. There is no appropriate teachers. We need to have professional craft teachers, so to teach something. The second problem is that in Hungary, the motto of that vocational education leads to employment is not true because we don't have the economic environment. So in Hungary, we have higher employment rate from universities. And this kind of reforms without really involving the unions, the teacher unions also, is very negative. So we have to really pay attention. But in general, there is a problem with the focus on professional development of the teachers. Because at the European level, we hear always that yes, the teachers, they are not involved in professional development, they are not going to trainings and they should go all trainings. But what they don't speak about and what we always highlight, they should be paid for the training. There should be appropriate time allocation. So, for example, around 10% of the working time of the teachers should be allocated to training. It is not fair that the politician says, you have to learn more ICT, you have to learn more on crafts, you have to go to companies, you have to know what the labor market needs, but you have to do it in your free time or in the weekend. It is not really fair. Also, many school leaders do not really want to give permit for the teachers to go to trainings during the class hours, and there is very difficult to find a replacement. The other question is, should training for teachers be obligatory or not? Up until the system is not really supporting the teachers on professional development, maybe there should not be. Higher education. Again, the focus on vocational education is changing the higher education. There is fewer access because there is a very big attention on privatization, public-private partnership. And now in the Erasmus Plus, every student can have a possibility to go to full programs for another country, but you can have a student loan. The problem is if you ask student loan, then the person when graduates cannot get really loan for a house or for a car because you already start your life in debt. So this is a very misleading advice to the students. I will be very short. In order to improve the access, we need money. And the European Union wants to give recommendations, and they are giving recommendations to the countries for how to spend their every year budget. Also, they give recommendations in education and training. You can see on this slide that most of the countries they get recommendations on vocational issues and on private sector training. But Cyprus doesn't get, because from 2013 and 2016, Cyprus belongs to the economic adjustment program. It means that Cyprus gets an economic support of 10 billion euros from the European Commission, the Central Bank and the IMF. So you don't get the recommendations, but kind of there is a memorandum of understanding on structural reforms. And you have to be really careful because every year these kind of recommendations and the reform recommendations are coming up. And the National Reform Program was presented by the government this year. And these are the Economic Adjustment Program for Cyprus, from the summer of 2014. There have been budgetary measures adopted in Cyprus because of the recommendation of the Commission. And you can see underlined the most important measure to be taken in the education sector. I will read it up. A reduction of number of teachers seconded to the Ministry of Education and Culture, the removal of 1 to 1.5 teaching time ratio from evening schools of general and technical and vocational education, the elimination of teaching time concession to teachers for being placed in 2 or more educational districts, the elimination of mentoring components for pre-service and in-service training for newly appointed teachers, and the reduction of the cost of afternoon and evening programs. So obviously all of these reductions will have a huge influence on the teachers in Cyprus. Yes, other recommendations were also to, they say they would make an effective education. evaluation of the new curricula, new system for recruitment of teachers, evaluation of teachers, quality assurance agency, and establishment of the quality assurance agency. And CIBUS should focus in the future more on non-formal and formal learning. This is almost my final table. I would like to highlight that it's very important to focus on the European semester. You cannot see this table in your printed slides, but if you Google European semester, you will find this very same picture. This picture shows how the European Union is giving recommendations to the countries every year from November to November. And this is a very complicated process. This is what I wanted to show you with the picture. And this is why ETUC has a campaign framework for the European semester. We alert the member organizations each year from November to November, so when the European semester takes place. We alert you on the new documents coming from your government, from the European Commission, from different EU institutions, which would lead by May, June, so at this time, for new recommendations how your government should spend the money for next year. And it's very important that the unions are involved, because you know the best what kind of recommendation should be on the teachers, you know the best your profession. So it is very important to pay attention to these recommendations, and I would like to underline that it would be very good that if you are also in your email list to focus on these topics. And this was my really very last slide. Thank you for your attention.